Well, usually when we see Mary Davis, the CEO of Special Olympics, it is about 4 or 5 a.m. Eastern time, and she's already been up and had breakfast and had her workout in Ireland. But now we're pre-taping because Mary's schedule did not allow her to do the live interview with us, which, we'll take it, Mary. We'll take it.
Well, I am absolutely delighted. Sorry that I can't do the live schedule, but seeing you in that state after doing so much, oh my goodness, I'm always in awe, and I'm always trying to figure out how on earth you survive and how you do it. And you come back for more every single year. It's just incredible, what you do, Debbie, honestly. So this time, to be speaking to you and you looking so fresh and wonderful. It's like, wow, is she going to go through all that again?
Well, this is our 5th year, so usually knowing that your interview is coming up is an indicator for me that once I get through shooting at the 4 a.m. hour is when I think we interview you either 4 a.m. or 5. I'm not remembering exactly. I
That's
think it
right,
might be
5.
5 a.m., but
I think it
that's
was
usually
5,
my
5 a.m.
indicator that a shower is coming so I can get refreshed to get going when the birds start chirping and it's time for the sun to come back up. But Mary, we're so overwhelmed by the generosity, the amount of people that have been involved, what this event has been able to lead to for many Special Olympic athletes. And I know in your position as CEO, you get a chance to raise money and experience the games in a different way. When we're doing our part here in South Carolina and trying to make a difference, how do you think we can continue the momentum and keep this thing going?
Well, I think you are already to be congratulated for continuing the momentum, Debbie, because every year, as I said, you come back and you seem to do more and more and more in raising funds in South Carolina for the program there, for the advancement of the athletes. And you know what? Everybody's suffering as a result of COVID. The athletes now are coming back. The coaches, we're trying to encourage a lot of them to come back. There's retraining to be done for new people coming on board. Some of our athletes, sadly, we lost to COVID through death, unfortunately, and some of them we just fell off the program because we didn't have that in-person experience which they've been so accustomed to all their lives with Special Olympics, and we had to pivot and do it in a different way, as you know. But we've come through that. We are trying to be more resilient than ever. But if there was ever a time when we need that additional push, that additional funding to provide in the way now that we need to provide to encourage our athletes to come back and then to obviously grow the program as well, and particularly from a volunteer and coaching perspective. So the funds are just so important, particularly in this aftermath of COVID. And then, of course, we have the preparations for the World Games as well, which is always costly on state programs and national programs who are, trying to get the funds together to provide additional training for the athletes that have qualified, to get their uniforms, to pay for their travel and their accommodation is paid for by the local organizing committee in Berlin. But there's just a lot going on. So you don't know how valuable and important it is what you are doing, Debbie, honestly. Thank
Well,
you.
I had a parent one time, Mary, say to me, Special Olympics is a place where I know I can trust that my young person or my young adult will have a place to compete and train. And the trust part of it hit me because as parents, we're so protective of our kids, especially those with special needs. You're always concerned about the fear of something happening or a situation that maybe if they're not with you, that someone may not be prepared to handle. It could be a variety of things that happen with kids. But the trust factor really hit me because it is so true. It's the one time where you send them to school, there's a trust factor there. But when you send them to play sports, there's another level of trust. And Special Olympics provides what I call that landing spot for families like mine, What would you say to that whole concept of just the trust that comes with why Special Olympics is so important for young adults and young kids to play?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a great point, Debbie. And Special Olympics is a place for everyone. And it's a place, it's a community, it's like a home. It started out, as that family-based program by Eunice Kennedy Shriver all those 52, 53 years ago, when she brought people to her home and she hosted the athletes and their families and volunteers there in her own backyard. So it grew out of that. So it grew very much into a real family and community feel about it. And everybody felt trusted and everybody felt protected as well. And they also felt like they were going to get the very best opportunity to be the best that they could be, which is everything that we aspire for all our sons and daughters. We want them just to be given the opportunity so that if they want to excel, they can excel, or they can certainly work to the best of their ability. And that's what Special Olympics does. And I think there's trust also in the coaches because they're well trained. We have very sophisticated coaching programs now, both online and in person. And that's the one thing about COVID that was probably one of the positives coming out of it, the way we were able to fast forward our online offerings and provide better opportunities for our coaches to get the necessary training. So, they're well trained, they're well prepared, and that comes through then when they're delivering and working with the athletes. And as you know, for many of the athletes, the coach is far more than a coach. The coach becomes a friend, becomes a mentor, becomes, somebody that gives them so much confidence and uplift in their daily lives. So yeah, I think that the idea of trust in Special Olympics is very much core to what we've been doing for the past over 50 years.
I know some coaches that also provide transportation and sometimes buy some meals and take time out of their own family time to make sure that some of these athletes are equipped to do whatever it is that they want to do next. Mary, I want to ask you, and I feel like I ask you this every question about Eunice Kennedy Shriver, because I'm so enamored by what she's done. I think she's an incredible role model and a mentor for so many and for parents like myself. What was your relationship like? What was she like? I mean, we know what Tim says about her. We've heard Tim talk about his mom, but what would you say?
Oh, I would say, I mean, she was a role model. She was certainly a role model to me. I mean, I was starting out as a very young teacher, and she came to Ireland, did some various different coaching when she was introducing Special Olympics herself. And when you see her, not just talk about Special Olympics, but she actually used to get on the playing field or get on the
Mhm.
gymnasium or get on the court and start telling people how they should be coaching athletes. She was so forthright in that. She really just cared about giving opportunity to Special Olympics athletes. And she learned so much from her own sister, Rosemary, and seeing the effect that sport had on her. And therefore, she carried that with her then into the Special Olympics programming. She was a woman of great belief in the magic of human beings and human effort and human spirit. And again, that was very much part of the mission of Special Olympics. She had a lot of faith, and not just faith in God, but faith in our athletes, faith
Mhm.
in their abilities, what they could achieve. She believed that they could overcome any obstacles and that they could be the best that they could be, and that they just needed a lift and a helping hand in their lives. And if we were ready to provide that, then everything was possible. And we've seen that over the years, how our athletes now, um, are leaders in the organization. So we're not just providing a service for them, where they are teaching us how to be more united, how to learn from each other, and just how to live your life in a way that is very, very special, I think. There's no baggage with people. You know that yourself. There's no baggage. They say it as it is, whereas we sometimes can be apprehensive, can beat around the bush, but no, their honesty is something that I just find so brilliant, and wish that if the world were like that. Uh, I met a parent of a young girl with Down syndrome in Rochester last year, and we were chatting about his daughter, and he said, "You know what? If we could discover the magic that's in that additional chromosome and bring that to everybody in the world, we would be living in a different place." And I just thought, oh my goodness,
Wow.
that is so true. If we could, that magic that that people with intellectual and people with Down syndrome particularly have, is just incredible.
That is so well said, and that is something that I will always remember. And I think about Eunice Kennedy Shriver and her magic. You know, this lady with maybe a whistle around her neck, really tough and
Yeah,
stern, going to tell you exactly how you're going to do it. And if you don't do it that way, she's going to correct you and make sure you understand, with a lot of discipline and a lot of love. And I
absolutely.
totally can relate to that. Totally
Yeah.
relate to that.
Yeah, you can, because you're such a sports person as well, and you know what it takes. You train hard, you work hard, you learn. We continue to learn all the time. She believed in that, and you'll succeed. You have no issues. And she brought that to Special Olympics. She was forthright, and she was bossy, and she did demand high standards from people. I remember she came to Ireland once, and I was coaching gymnastics, and she went right, marched, threw her shoes off, marched out onto the mats, and started pulling up their toes to point them and saying, you got to teach this. This is what we've got to do. Their toes can be better than that. They can be pointed better than that. It was so funny. And then she said to one athlete, I'll always remember, she said to one athlete, Rita Lawler, she said, "You're showing a lot of promise. You could be great. One day if you work really hard, you'll represent your country." And like, I'm looking at her thinking, oh my God, like, we'll never have anybody in our club that'll represent our country like that, go to a World Games. And right enough, that very athlete
Wow.
qualified to go to the World Games in South Bend and won an all-around medal for her performance in gymnastics. And what she went on to do after that, honestly, Rita moved from sheltered employment to full-time employment in a hotel, and she moved from shelter accommodation to living in an apartment, which she still lives in. She's retired from Special Olympics now, because that was years
Wow.
ago. And she'll say she always remembers what that woman said. She can't remember her name. She said, "I always remember that woman that came to us and said this to me." And I thought, yeah, that's Eunice Kennedy Shriver.
It's the power of words, right? It's how it can be so uplifting, and just a kind word once in a while, you have no idea what impact it could have on someone. That's a perfect example of
Yeah.
why you should lead with positivity and enthusiasm and body language that is positive, and all those things, Mary, that you embody as someone who runs Special Olympics. What would be next? Somebody is listening and watching. They're aware of why it's important to give money, and we're asking them to give money. I start, and I'm in the driveway with a grassroots effort, asking everyone to give me 1 penny for every free throw I make. That would be $24 for Special Olympics. And we had enough people that would do that, we could make a significant impact. And I feel like we are doing that. But for somebody out there that might be teetering on, you know what, maybe instead of giving 24, maybe I could give 50 or 100 or 1,000. What would you say to them?
Well, I would say this, and again, I'm going to quote a mother of a Special Olympics athlete who said, "I wouldn't change my son for the world, but I would change the world for my son." And that's what Special Olympics does every single day we wake up. It is on my mind day and night as the CEO. How can we change the world to make it a more inclusive place for people with intellectual disability and for our athletes? And through Special Olympics, and particularly through our unified sports program, where we have people with and without intellectual disability playing together, we are teaching people about acceptance, about how to be more accepting, how to treat everybody with dignity and respect, and having the moral courage to stand up if they see a young person with intellectual disability being bullied or being abused. And we do, it happens all the time. We see it. And our training and what we do through the power of sport, and sport can change minds, it can change the world. Um, and particularly through our unified program, we are teaching young people to be more inclusive, to be more accepting. And these are young people that will go out into the world, that will be in politics, that will be heading up large corporations and businesses, that will be teachers, that will be doctors, and they'll bring that with them, that learning. And things will be different in the future because of the power and the impact of sport and Special Olympics. So that's what the money, whether it's $20 or $40 or $60 or $100, that's where the money goes to change that mindset and to change behavior so that we're creating a whole society of people that understand difference better.
That is a wonderful message, Mary, and we are so grateful that on this live stream, once again, for 24 hours, nothing but net, that you gave us some of your very valuable time to help us advance Special Olympics in a multitude of ways. We're so grateful that you had the time to be with us again. We'll miss you live, but we're glad
I
to have
know.
you now.
Yeah, I'm so sorry I won't be live, Debbie. I just couldn't do it this year, unfortunately, because of my schedule. But I'll be back again, and I know you'll be back. And I think you're absolutely brilliant. I'm in awe of you and what you do. So thank you so much, and congratulations from everybody in Special Olympics that I know will be rooting for you when you do your 24 hours.